The darkness of space stretched endlessly before Commander Quan Ho as he sat in his command chair, aboard the patrol ship Sovereign's Edge. 300 years had passed since Earth went silent. 300 years since the last human transmission reached the outer colonies. Most beings in the galaxy believed humanity was dead. Quan Ho adjusted his uniform and checked the navigation display. His ship was conducting routine patrols along the border between hegemony space and the contested zones. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Pirates and smugglers often tried to slip through these empty sectors. "Commander," called his sensor operator, a thin Altarian with pale blue skin. "I'm detecting some unusual readings near the Sol system." Quan Ho frowned. Sol was humanity's home system, but nothing had come from there in centuries. The Galactic Council had placed warning beacons around it long ago. Most ships avoided the area entirely. "What kind of readings?" Quan Ho asked. "Energy signatures, sir. Multiple contacts moving at high speed. They're heading toward the Zerion Nebula." The Zerion Nebula. Quan Ho knew that place well. 3 major powers had been fighting over it for 40 years. The nebula contained rare minerals that everyone wanted. The hegemony, the Syndicate, and the Republic sent fleets there regularly. Small battles happened almost every month. "How many contacts?" Quan Ho stood up and walked to the sensor station. 200 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're in tight formation. 200 ships was a major fleet. Larger than anything the 3 powers usually sent to Zerion. Quan Ho felt a chill run down his spine. No one had that many ships to spare these days. "Show me the tactical display," he ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a 3-dimensional map of local space. Small red dots moved across the display, all heading in the same direction. They moved with perfect precision like a school of fish or a flock of birds. "Sir," his communications officer spoke up. She was young, barely out of the academy. Her name was Vexitar, and she belonged to the Zenthari species. "These energy signatures are strange. They don't match anything in our databases." "Unknown ship designs?" Quan Ho asked. "Not exactly, sir. The technology is advanced, more advanced than ours. But there's something familiar about the quantum resonance patterns. They're coming from Sol." Quan Ho felt his heart skip a beat. Sol meant Earth. Sol meant humans. But humans were supposed to be gone. "That's impossible," he whispered. "I've run the analysis 3 times, sir. The quantum signatures are definitely from Sol system. But these ships, they're nothing like the old human vessels in our historical records." Quan Ho remembered the old files about human ships. They were crude, bulky things powered by primitive fusion reactors. The humans had been brave but technically backward compared to the major galactic powers. That's why the Council had been able to quarantine them so easily. But these ships on the display looked different. They were sleek and elegant, shaped like predators. Their energy readings showed power levels that made his own ship look like a toy. "Sir, should we investigate?" asked his navigation officer. Quan Ho thought carefully. His ship was just a patrol vessel, lightly armed and designed for police work. If these mysterious ships were hostile, the Sovereign's Edge wouldn't last long. In a fight. "Negative, we maintain our distance and observe. Vextar, can you intercept any communications from that fleet?" The young Zenthari worked at her console for several minutes. "Nothing, sir. They're maintaining complete radio silence, but wait." She paused and adjusted some controls. "Sir, I'm detecting some kind of internal communication system. It's not radio or subspace. It's something else entirely." "What do you mean?" "The ships are coordinating with each other, but I can't figure out how. Their movements are too precise for visual signals alone. It's like they're connected somehow." Quan Ho watched the red dots on the display. They moved like parts of a single organism, adjusting their formation smoothly as they traveled through space. No fleet he knew could coordinate that well. "How long until they reach Zerion?" he asked. "At their current speed, about 6 hours, sir." 6 hours. That meant the 3 powers currently fighting in the nebula had no idea what was coming their way. Quan Ho had to warn someone, but who? The hegemony was his government, but this affected everyone. "Vextar, prepare a priority message to Hegemony Command." Tell them we have detected a large unknown fleet heading for Zerion. Origin appears to be Sol System. Sol System, sir? Should I mention the possibility of human involvement? Quan Ho stared at the display again. 200 advanced warships emerging from humanity's dead homeworld. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was right in front of him. Yes, he said quietly. Tell them the children of Earth have returned. As his ship transmitted the message, Quan Ho wondered what these returning humans wanted. Were they seeking revenge for their long isolation, or did they have some other purpose? The fleet continued toward Zerion, and Quan Ho followed at a safe distance. Soon, the galaxy would have answers. But first, there would probably be a battle, and something told him that battle would change everything. Admiral Ji-Ho stood perfectly still on the bridge of his flagship, the Prometheus Rising. The stars outside looked different than they had 300 years ago when his ancestors last saw them freely. His hands rested calmly on the command rail as he watched his fleet approach the Zerion Nebula. Behind him, 200 ships moved through space like a deadly dance. Each vessel was sleek and powerful, built with technology that the rest of the galaxy had never seen. These were not the crude human ships from the old days. These were something new, something evolved. Admiral? Commander Ha-Un walked up to him holding a datapad. She was tall and moved with the enhanced grace that all humans now possessed. We're getting scanned by at least 12 different ships. They're trying to figure out what we are. Ji-Ho smiled slightly. Let them wonder. His people had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. 3 centuries of growth, learning, and becoming something more than they had been before. What do you see down there? He asked, pointing toward the nebula. Ha-Un looked at the tactical display. The usual mess, sir. Hegemony ships fighting, syndicate raiders, Republic peacekeepers trying to stop them both. They've been doing this dance for decades. Ji-Ho watched the battle through his enhanced vision. His eyes could process information much faster than baseline humans from the old days. What he saw made him almost feel sorry for the warring factions below. Their ships moved slowly and predictably. Their weapons were crude and wasteful. Their tactics were simple and outdated. It was like watching children play with toys while adults watched from above. They have no idea what real war looks like, Ji-Ho said quietly. Should we intervene, sir? Ha-Un asked. Ji-Ho considered this. His orders were clear. Earth's children had returned to reclaim their place in the galaxy. But they would do it properly, with honor and strength combined. Lieutenant Taemin, he called to his communications officer. The young man turned quickly. Like all humans born in the last 2 centuries, Taemin had reflexes that would seem superhuman to the older galactic species. Yes, Admiral? Open a channel to all ships in the combat zone. All frequencies. Channel open, sir. Ji-Ho took a deep breath. This would be the moment when Earth announced its return to the galaxy. 300 years of silence would end with his words. This is Admiral Ji-Ho of the Terran Exodus Fleet. We are the children of Earth and we have returned. Stand down your weapons and prepare for negotiation. The response was immediate chaos. Radio chatter exploded across dozens of frequencies, as the 3 fighting factions tried to understand what they were hearing. Impossible, came one voice. Humans are extinct. Earth went dark centuries ago, said another. Those quantum signatures, they're definitely from Sol System. How many ships do they have? 200 at least, maybe more. Ji-Ho listened. To the confusion with satisfaction. Fear and uncertainty were useful tools when used correctly. His people had learned much about psychology during their long isolation. Commander Ha-Un stepped closer to him. Admiral, we're receiving direct communication requests from all 3 faction commanders. They want to know who we are and what we want. Let them wait, Ji-Ho replied. Patience is something they need to learn. On the tactical display, the 3-way battle had stopped. Ships that had been shooting at each other moments before now hung motionless in space, their crews trying to figure out what to do about the mysterious human fleet. Ji-Ho studied each group carefully. The hegemony ships were well built, but unimaginative. The syndicate vessels were fast but poorly coordinated. The Republic peacekeepers were numerous but weak. All of them were using technology that seemed almost primitive to his enhanced perception. 3 centuries of isolation had given humanity time to develop along different paths. While the galaxy had grown comfortable and lazy, humans had been forced to innovate or die. "Sir," Taemin reported, "I'm detecting emergency transmissions. From all 3 factions, they're calling for reinforcements." "Of course they are," Jiho said calmly. "They're scared." He walked to the large viewing window and looked out at the nebula. Beautiful colors swirled in the cosmic dust, hiding the rare minerals that everyone wanted so badly. For 40 years, 3 major powers had fought over this place. Thousands had died for rocks and metals. "Admiral," Hayun said, "should we respond to their communication requests now?" Jiho turned back to face his bridge crew. Every person there had been born and raised knowing this day would come. They had trained their entire lives for Earth's return to galactic affairs. "Yes," he said. "Open a channel to the senior commander of each faction. It's time they learned what humanity has become." As the communications opened, Jiho felt the weight of history on his shoulders. His words would echo across the galaxy. 300 years of silence were about to end, and nothing would ever be the same. The children of Earth had indeed returned, and they were no longer the weak species that had been quarantined so long ago. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen before, and they were ready to take their place among the stars once again. Dr. Minseo stood in her laboratory aboard the Prometheus Rising, surrounded by screens showing data about the galaxy beyond. She had spent her entire life studying the species that had locked humanity away. Every transmission they intercepted, every piece of technology they could analyze, every hint about galactic politics, she had examined it all. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council had made a decision that changed everything. They looked at humanity's rapid expansion across the stars and decided it was dangerous. Humans spread too fast, asked too many questions, and refused to follow the established rules. "They're too aggressive," the Council had said. "Too unpredictable. They need to be contained." So they built a barrier around Earth's solar system, an energy field that would keep humans trapped on their homeworld. The Council thought they were protecting the galaxy from a dangerous species. They had no idea what they were actually creating. Minseo touched a control panel and brought up historical records. Images of old human ships appeared on her screen, crude, bulky vessels that barely managed to cross space. The humans of 3 centuries ago had been brave but technically backward. "Doctor," her assistant Jin Woo called from across the lab, "we're receiving reports from the surface teams. The operation is proceeding as planned." Minseo nodded and switched her display to show the current battle. Far below their fleet, 3 factions continued their pointless war over the mining rights in the nebula. Hegemony, Syndicate, and Republic ships fired at each other with weapons that seemed almost primitive now. "Look at them," she said to Jin Woo. "Still using directed energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. Still relying on metal armor and electromagnetic shields. They haven't learned anything new in centuries." Jin Woo joined her at the display. Like all humans born in the last 200 years, he was taller and moved with perfect coordination. The quarantine field had changed humanity in ways the Council never expected. "Why didn't they advance?" Jin Woo asked. "Comfort," Minseo replied. "When you have everything you want, you stop trying to improve." The 3 major powers divided up the galaxy between them. They made rules that benefited themselves. There was no pressure to innovate. She gestured toward Earth's direction, though they couldn't see it from here. "But we had pressure. We were trapped. Isolated, forced to survive with only what we could create ourselves. Every generation had to be better than the last, or humanity would die. The quarantine field had been the key. The Council thought they were just building a prison, but the energy barrier had strange effects on human biology. Children born under its influence developed faster reflexes, better coordination, and enhanced cognitive abilities. "Admiral Jiho to all ships," came the announcement over the communication system. "Begin Operation Homecoming." Minseo watched as the human fleet moved into action. Their ships descended toward the warring factions below like silent predators. No visible engines pushed them through space. They had learned to manipulate gravity itself for propulsion. Captain Dahoon's voice came through from the assault ship New Terra. "Admiral, we're in position above the main mining platform. Enemy formations are exactly as predicted." Mincio smiled. Of course they were predictable. The three factions had been fighting the same way for decades. They used the same tactics, the same strategies, the same thinking patterns. They had become comfortable with their methods. Humans had no such luxury. Every battle simulation, every training exercise, every technological development had been focused on one goal: surviving in a hostile galaxy that wanted them contained. "Watch their movements," Mincio told Jinwoo as the human ships engaged the enemy forces. The assault teams moved with perfect coordination, like a single organism with many parts. They didn't need radio communications. Generations of living under the quarantine field had given them something approaching telepathic connection when working together. Their weapons passed right through traditional energy shields as if they weren't there. The enemy ship's armor provided no protection against weapons designed to manipulate matter at the molecular level. Human soldiers moved through enemy vessels like ghosts, always seeming to know where their opponents would be before they got there. "How are we doing this?" Jinwoo asked in amazement. "Enhanced pattern recognition," Mincio explained. "Our brains process information much faster than baseline humans. We can predict enemy movements by analyzing thousands of tiny details in real time. Within 3 hours, half the enemy fleet was disabled. Within 6 hours, all three factions had surrendered. Not a single enemy ship had been destroyed. Not a single life had been lost. The humans had simply made it impossible for them to continue fighting." "This is impossible," came panicked transmissions from the defeated fleets. "How are they doing this? What kind of technology is this? Who are these people?" Mincio laughed softly. They still didn't understand. The humans hadn't just returned with better technology. They had returned as a different species entirely, one forged by 3 centuries of isolation and necessity. The Galactic Council had tried to contain humanity's aggressive expansion. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, a species with nothing to lose and everything to prove. And now the galaxy would learn what humanity had become during its long exile among the stars. Captain Hyunwoo moved through the mining station's corridors like a shadow. His enhanced hearing picked up every sound: the hum of life support systems, the distant voices of defenders, even the breathing patterns of his own team members. 3 centuries of evolution had given humans abilities that seemed impossible to other species. "Contact ahead," whispered Sergeant Yu-jin through their neural link. The connection between enhanced humans allowed them to share thoughts and information instantly, without any technology. 4 hegemony soldiers, armed with standard pulse rifles. Hyunwoo didn't need to give orders, his team already knew what to do. They had trained together since childhood, their minds working as one unit. Private Donghyun moved left while Corporal Subin went right. Hyunwoo approached directly. The enemy soldiers never saw them coming. Hyunwoo's enhanced reflexes allowed him to move faster than normal humans could track. He disarmed the first soldier before the man could even raise his weapon. Yu-jin appeared behind the second soldier like a ghost, using a nerve pinch that would keep him unconscious for hours but cause no permanent damage. The other 2 soldiers surrendered immediately when they realized their weapons were already in human hands. "Sector 7 secured," Yu-jin reported through the mental link. "These defenders are so slow. It's almost not fair." Hyunwoo understood what she meant. The galaxy's soldiers moved and thought at normal baseline human speeds. But enhanced humans could process information and react 3 times faster. What seemed like lightning-quick reflexes to regular people felt like slow motion to them. "Remember our orders," Hyunwoo reminded his team. "No unnecessary force. We're here to stop the fighting, not start a war." They moved deeper into the station. Around them, the sounds of battle echoed through the metal corridors. Syndicate raiders fought Republic peacekeepers while hegemony forces tried to secure the valuable mining equipment. 3 different factions, all wanting the same prize. "Captain," came a voice through his communicator. "This is Lieutenant Su-jin from the command center. We've taken control of the main computer systems. All 3 factions are trapped in separate Sections of the station. Hyunwoo smiled. The plan was working perfectly. While the enemy forces had been distracted fighting each other, human teams had quietly taken control of all critical systems. Life support, artificial gravity, communications, security doors, everything was now under human control. Any casualties, he asked? None on our side. 17 minor injuries among the enemy forces, all from their own fighting. We haven't had to seriously hurt anyone. That was important. Admiral Ji-ho had been very clear about their mission. They were not here as conquerors or destroyers. They were here to prove a point, that humanity had returned to the galaxy as a force for order, not chaos. Hyunwoo reached the main mining chamber, a vast space filled with extraction equipment and storage containers. Here, workers from all three factions had been trapped when the fighting started. They huddled behind cover, afraid to move while their respective military forces battled around them. Attention all personnel, Hyunwoo announced through the station's communication system. This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Terran Exodus Fleet. The fighting is over. Please report to your designated safe areas for evacuation. Confused faces looked out from behind storage crates and mining equipment. Many of these workers had never seen a human before. Earth had been silent for 300 years. Most people believed humans were extinct. You're really from Earth? Asked a Zenthari engineer, his blue skin pale with shock. We are, Hyunwoo replied calmly, and we're here to help. Over the next few hours, human teams systematically secured the entire station. They separated the three military forces and treated all wounded personnel. Not a single person died during the operation, despite the fact that dozens had been injured in the original three-way battle. I don't understand, said Commander Veltar of the Hegemony Forces when Hyunwoo brought him to the command center. What do you want? Why are you here? Hyunwoo gestured toward the large viewing window that showed the nebula outside. We want what everyone wants, peace and fair access to resources. The difference is that we have the power to make it happen. But you could have destroyed all our ships, protested Captain X9 of the Syndicate Raiders. Your technology is clearly superior. Why didn't you just take everything for yourselves? Because that's not who we are, Lieutenant Sujin answered. 3 centuries ago, the galaxy decided we were too dangerous to be free. They were wrong then, and they would be wrong now if we proved them right. Within days, the mining station had been converted into a neutral facility. Workers from all 3 factions returned to their jobs, but now they worked under human supervision. The rare minerals were divided fairly according to each faction's contribution to the mining operation. Strange, Hyunwoo said to Sujin as they watched Hegemony and Syndicate workers collaborating on a difficult extraction job. They feared us so much that they locked us away. Now they need us to keep the peace between themselves. Sujin nodded. Maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe this is why we had to be isolated for so long. So we could become what the galaxy needed. Peacekeepers instead of conquerors. The galaxy was learning that the children of Earth had returned, not as the aggressive expansionists they remembered, but as something new. Something that combined overwhelming power with unexpected restraint. They were legends awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Ji-ho walked slowly through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. The room was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small and powerless. Ancient pillars reached toward a ceiling that disappeared into shadows. Representatives from dozens of species sat in raised seats, looking down at the center where Ji-ho now stood. For 3,000 years, this chamber had been the center of galactic power. Decisions made here affected billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. The council members were used to others begging for their favor, pleading for trade agreements, or asking permission for basic rights. Today was different. Today they faced someone who didn't need their permission for anything. Admiral Ji-ho of Earth, announced the ceremonial herald. You may approach the council seats. Ji-ho remained where he was. I am comfortable here, thank you. A murmur went through the chamber. No one refused the council's protocols. No one changed the ancient ceremonies. Counselor Prime Vexthak of the Hegemony leaned forward in his elevated seat. He was old, even by his species standards, and had ruled the council for over 2 centuries. Admiral, Jiho, is it? We had no knowledge that Earth still harbored life. Our quarantine readings showed no signs of civilization. Dr. Minseo stepped out from behind Jiho, carrying a datapad in her hands. The readings showed exactly what you wanted to see, she said calmly. Nothing more, nothing less. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Minseo activated her datapad and projected a holographic display into the center of the chamber. Images appeared showing human ships, advanced and sleek, moving through space near various council worlds. Our scout vessels have been observing your territories for over 50 years, she continued. We've been watching your trade routes, studying your technology, learning your weaknesses, all while remaining completely invisible to your detection systems. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Counselor Zethra of the Republic stood up quickly. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected any ships in our space. Your sensors detect what they were designed to find, Dr. Minseo replied. We simply learned to be something else. Jiho watched the council members' faces as they realized what this meant. For 50 years, humans had been watching them without their knowledge. For 50 years, they had been vulnerable and never knew. And why? Asked Counselor Prime Vexthak. Why reveal yourselves now? Because we're ready, Jiho answered simply. 300 years ago, you decided we were too dangerous to be free. You built a prison around our home and told yourselves it was for the good of the galaxy. He gestured toward the holographic display, which now showed images of human colonies on distant worlds. What you actually did was give us time to become everything you feared we might be. The display changed again, showing dozens of star systems with human settlements, advanced cities, space stations, terraformed worlds, all hidden from galactic detection until now. 47 colony worlds, Dr. Minseo announced. 4 billion enhanced humans. Technology that makes your finest achievements look like children's toys. Counselor Yithkan of the Syndicate spoke up, his voice shaking slightly. What do you want from us? Jiho smiled. It was not a friendly expression. Recognition of our territorial claims. Reparations for 3 centuries of forced isolation. And most importantly, a complete restructuring of galactic governance to ensure no species is ever quarantined again. Impossible, Vexithak protested. The Council has maintained peace for millennia. We cannot simply— You will, Jiho interrupted, because the alternative is much worse for everyone involved. Dr. Minseo activated another display. This one showed tactical analyses of every major fleet in Council space. Strengths, weaknesses, battle readiness. Everything laid out in perfect detail. We know where every one of your ships is located, she said. We know their capabilities, their crew sizes, their supply lines. We could disable your entire military force in less than a week without destroying a single vessel. The chamber fell silent. The council members stared at the display, seeing their own military secrets revealed by people they had tried to imprison. But we won't, Jiho added. Because we're not the aggressive conquerors you feared. We're the peacekeepers this galaxy desperately needs. The negotiations took 3 days. The council argued, threatened, and tried to bargain. But in the end, they had no choice. Humanity held all the advantages now. When it was over, Jiho stood at the great viewing window of the council station. His fleet was preparing to depart, their mission accomplished. Commander Ha-Yun joined him at the window. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? She asked. Jiho watched his ships moving through space with their impossible grace and power. They have no choice. We're not the desperate refugees they expected to deal with someday. We're legends made real. Ha-Yun nodded. A species transformed by adversity. Into something the galaxy has never seen before, Jiho agreed. Behind them, the stars held new promise. The children of Earth had returned not as conquerors, but as the force that would reshape galactic civilization itself. The age of the old council was ending. A new age was about to begin.